Hey everyone, Jay here. I'm here to do my everyday makeup tutorial. I've been getting a lot of requests for this from you guys from seeing it in my Instagram stories and just all over social media. So I figured I would sit down and finally show you guys what I do for what you see on a day-to-day basis. So this is my first YouTube video, so bear with me, and my first like full-on tutorial, like explaining step by step what I do. So it's gonna be a learning process. Okay, so typically like I start with my eyes because a lot of stuff can like drop on your face and I don't like to have to redo my face makeup. So what I'm doing right now is putting on eyeshadow primer. I highly recommend eyeshadow primer. It helps to keep the oils from your eyes from smudging the eyeshadow and kind of creating some creases and lines. For my everyday makeup, I just use the Urban Decay, which it's like very worn out because I've used this for so long. Urban Decay eyeshadow primer in the original color. Now a lot of the times when I go out there's another color that I use, but this is what I use for my day-to-day stuff. Comes out in just like a cream. So I put that on my eyelids. I put it all over, so all the way up to the brow bone, in the corner. I'll even do a little bit underneath. I'm just gonna let that dry for a second. So while it's drying, I'm gonna just put the primer on my face. I typically do both my primers at the same time. So I use the Milk Makeup primer for my everyday makeup. I like it. It's kind of mattifying. I typically have an oily T-zone, so this helps to mattify some of those oils, and I think it helps kind of like cover fine lines and just different things to smooth out my skin, the appearance of my skin. So I already have moisturizer on too, which is a good thing to add moisturizer. And I put BB cream on because I went and ran an errand. So yeah, make sure you moisturize first, then primer. So now onto my eyes. I have been using, so a lot of my makeup you'll see is like beat up. Like I use these palettes all the time, but yeah, so I use a lot of Urban Decay products typically. So this is the Naked One palette. You can see it's like the OG, all of those colors. A lot of browns, warm brown tones. So then for brushes, this is actually a Morphe brush. Just like a standard. Don't make fun of my terminology. I may know my amateur way around makeup, but I know that there's a blending brush and an angled brush and like a smudge brush. And beyond that, I don't know brush names. So this is just a brush. I don't know, it's thicker, so you can see. So I'm gonna choose this just neutral brown right here. It's a matte brown. So you don't have to use these palettes, you can use similar colors. I just like this palette because it's all in one for the most part. I use one other eyeshadow palette for my everyday makeup, but this is pretty much it. So I'm going to put that matte brown all over my lid. I'm going to avoid though the top by my eyebrow and the corner. Those are going to be very light colors. So this is in the color Naked. So I use like 4 colors, I think, on my everyday eyeshadow. It's really simple. So then my next one I'm going to use is this color called Sidecar. So this is like a shimmery brown. And I'm going to come in with, this is a very similar brush to the one that I was just using, but just slightly smaller. I'm putting this in the inner corner of my lid, so all the way through like the middle of my lid. So adds a little shine. Okay. And then I'm gonna come through with my darker brown called Buck. This is what I'm using when I call like a smudge brush. And I take this and I apply it very rudimentarily. I don't put it in, I just put it in a spot. So I'm gonna apply this color Buck right here. It's a darker matte brown. And I'm just gonna like place it in the corner of my lid and as well as in the crease here. I'm not worrying about blending at all right now. I'm just placing the shadow where I want it for later. Alright, and then I'm going to take one more color, Smog. It's a darker shimmery brown, a little bit warmer than the one that I put, the Sidecar that I put in my crease. And I'm just going to put that right in the corner, not really in my crease. Okay, so now I'm going to take my blending brush. This is a MAC brush that I've had forever. I never put product really on this, maybe like only if I do like a smoky eye. This blending brush stays like clean, and I just use it strictly to blend, not to like place eyeshadow on my lid. So now I'm going to blend those colors that we just placed all together. Okay, so for the highlight, you can use, if you want to just use like the Naked One palette, I would use Virgin, the color Virgin here in the corner, but I actually have another Naked palette that I use, or I'm sorry, another Urban Decay palette that I use for this. So this is the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette. I love this palette. The colors here are so pretty. So I take her palette. I typically use a combination of Blonde, Bathwater, and Skimp. They're all just like light colors with a little bit of shimmer. Bathwater has the most shimmer. So I use Skimp a lot in the corner, so I'm going to do that. And this is a little bit shorter bristled brush. A little bit stiffer, so it places the product right where I want it. Whereas before, the brushes I were using to place the shadow, you can see they're not as stiff, whereas this has a little bit more stiffness to it. I'm going to take this and use it to put Skimp, color Skimp here, right in the corner of my eye, brushing up. And then right along my brow bone here. So, my eyes aren't completely done yet, but at this point in my makeup, I typically switch to my face. So, I use the MAC Studio Fix Fluid Liquid Foundation in the color NW20. I think I've been NW20 since like my junior year in high school when I switched to MAC. I've used a ton of different liquid foundations. I kind of switch back and forth between a lot, but MAC is always kind of like my go-to to go back to. So I'm actually like really close to being out with this foundation, so I actually have to pull it from here. But I use a beauty blender to apply it. Don't worry, this beauty blender wasn't pink originally. It was nude. So I've already primed my face and I have moisturizer on it. Use my beauty blender to place this all over. Okay, so now that I've got my liquid foundation on, I typically come through with like a setting powder. And I used to use like the Makeup Forever one. I have it somewhere, but I've gotten lazy and like forgot where I put it. So I've actually just been using what I put on top of my highlighter. It's this Ben Nye Luxury Powder in Cameo. I've had it for forever and I'm just now finally getting low on this powder. I got it because I found somewhere that like Kim K's makeup artist used it, and I got it and fell in love with it. I think I got it like 2 years ago. But I'll just like, I put a little bit in the cap, and this is a brush, an angled ooh, they have the name of it on here. This is an angled contour blush contouring brush that I don't use for blush or contouring really. I use it just for powder. So I put it in the cap and then I just come through and kind of like dabble it on, especially in the areas that I know I'm a little greasier on. So like my T-zone, it's oilier in the day. So now I'm gonna do my brows before I do my highlighter, just because if I screw something up on my brows, then I can come back and kind of fix it with my highlighter. My everyday makeup, I just try to make it as efficient as possible. I use for brows, I use Anastasia's Dip Brow Pomade in the color Soft Brown. I've used the taupe as well. Just with my darker fall hair, I typically go with the soft brown. And so I just dip my, I have a brow brush. Definitely recommend getting Anastasia's brow brush. And I just dip it in there and I will create an outer line, basically framing my brows into the shape that I want. And then with short strokes, I will fill in. And see how I ignored the first like portion of my eyebrow there? Now I come through and I'll take a line and I'll define that bottom line there. But then I take short strokes and kind of fill in. Over here. And then what I do is I take this little toolie brush and I brush some of that product up into my brow to make it a little more natural. So I just use this clear brow gel to kind of brush my hairs into place. I use a liquid. I use this NARS Radiant, what is it? Radiant Creamy Concealer in the color Chantilly. It's the lightest color that they have for their concealer, but I use it as my highlighter actually. So I take this and I put it right underneath my eyes, kind of making a little triangle down, so I'll follow my nose down and then go back up my cheekbone. And what this is doing is I'm creating the highlights and shadows on my face that I want to accentuate. So I want to draw people into my eyes, and so I'm gonna, lighten up underneath them, and then I'll contrast and make my cheekbone. I will use bronzer and do a little bit of contouring, and then it'll highlight my cheekbones as well. So then I just come through my beauty blender again and I start dabbing it in. And any like extra product that you have, always pull it like back this way, so you're highlighting that entire area. come back through with my Ben Nye powder again. Same brush. And I will go over those spots. And this truly just mattifies it. I feel like it does a really good job at concealing pores or fine lines if you have them. Then for contouring, I have the Shade and Light palette by Kat Von D, except I use it a lot, so a lot of my colors are gone. But that's why I have the Ben Nye powder for the lighter colors that are used up here. And then I can still use the darker colors. There's still some in here. I have this, it's not angled, it's just what I use for my contour brush. I'll kind of use it and shape the bristles myself in my face. I've had ones that are specifically for contouring, and I love them for like going out looks, because then I'll create really defined lines. But for my day-to-day, I kind of like a little bit more blended look than I do when I'm going out. So that's why I like this brush. So I'm taking I use these two colors mainly for my day-to-day, which is why they're super used up, and this is more just when I go out. So I'm using, one's warmer and one's cooler. I'm using the cooler one right now. I typically start with that one and come through. And so I'm just sweeping it right underneath my cheekbone. On both sides of my face. Using that same color, I'm just gonna line my jawline. And then I take it and I kind of make it, and then I'll take my brush and I kind of thin it out. I'll sweep it along the sides of my nose just to have an appearance of looking a little bit thinner. Nothing too crazy, but and then brush it along my hairline. So it's the main color that I use, but now I'm going to come back through with the warmer tone and mainly just use it on my cheeks right here. I pull it into my foreheads a little bit as well. So then I have this brush from Urban Decay, and I typically don't put any product in there. This is just like my blending brush again. So I think a crucial thing here is always have like a brush that is strictly for blending, not for color application. Blend everything in. Okay, super sad, and I don't know why, but my camera apparently cut off the last portion of the tutorial, but all you missed was, I think, eyeliner. I'll go over the things that like it didn't catch right now, because it was just the end. So, for blush, I use this MAC blush in Gleeful, and I use this like angled contour brush actually for my blush, and so I'll just take this and I sweep it all the way up my cheekbone. And then for highlighter, I use this Cover FX highlighter in Sunlight. So what I'll do is take this, and I'll take my brush here and dab it into the corners of my eyes and along my brow bone. And then I come back and I put it, I'll drop droplets right here, and then I take my beauty blender and I will blend those droplets in. And then the last thing I do is I put this BECCA highlighter in Champagne Pop, which is like her legendary shade. Mine's all crushed. Woo! Champagne showers. But I put this and I take my fan brush, and I know the name of this brush. And I put it right here. I should do it again. I don't mind a little more glow. So I'll put it right here, like this, along my nose, right there. I think eyeliner may have gotten cut off too, so when I'm editing this video, I'll go look to see. But if it did, I used the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On in the color Bourbon. And I put that, just smudge it right in my lash line here. And then I don't have to use mascara because I have lash extensions right now, so I just have to brush those out. And if you guys need a recommendation, I have a really good girl in the Minneapolis area that I can give you one. Otherwise, when I used to use mascara, I would use the Better Than Sex mascara in the waterproof, or I'm sorry, I'd use the the Better Than Sex mascara in waterproof, or the Benefit They're Real mascara. Those are the two that I would typically use. And then for lip, I use Kat Von D's during the day. I like her formula a lot better than Kylie's for all day wear because it's not as drying. And so this is in the color Lolita. I think it's like her signature shade now. I didn't know that at the time, but I think a lip just really finishes off a look. So there you have it. That's my everyday makeup tutorial. Sorry that the last part of the video got cut off, but I'll get better at this YouTubing stuff. So give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be putting out a lot more stuff, beauty, fitness related, life related, recipes, things like that. So I'm going to start putting more content on here. And kind of keeping some of the longer videos off of Instagram. But give me a comment if you have any ideas for videos or things that you would like to see coming up on my channel. So thanks so much for hanging out.